Before the timer begins, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable judges, respected opponents, and everyone present here. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is CHINTYA Ulfa. I am the Prime Minister of the government team. It is a great honor for me to stand here today and represent my team in this debate competition. First of all, thank you for giving me time to deliver our arguments about the motion today. So, ladies and gentlemen, the motion is talking about this House prefers a world where critical resources are governed by the International Material Agency. As the Prime Minister of the government team, we strongly support this motion. We firmly believe that this motion brings more advantages than harm, especially in the long term. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Prime Minister, my role is to deliver the arguments of the motion, explain our team stage, and present the argument. However, before I move on to explain our argument in detail, first, let me clarify the definition of the key term in this motion, to avoid any misunderstanding in this discussion. Firstly, the definition of an international resources agency is a global organization that manages important natural resources such as oil, natural gas, and minerals. Its role is to prevent shortages, reduce conflict between countries, and ensure that these resources are used in a fair and sustainable way. Ladies and gentlemen, we also need to understand what important resources actually are. Important resources are natural materials that are essential for human life and development, such as oil, gas, and rare earth elements, which are used for energy, industry, and daily needs. With this definition, we can clearly understand the topic we are discussing today. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 2-point arguments that we will deliver in here. The first point, management by the International Resources Agency can improve resource efficiency and ensure long-term sustainability. The second point, mentioned both global and national economic stability. Firstly, management by the International Resources Agency can improve resources efficiency and ensure long-term sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever thought about how fast natural resources like oil, gas, and minerals are being used every day? If we keep using them without proper control, what will happen in the future when these resources start to run out? And this is where the problem comes in. Without a proper global system, each country tends to use resources in its own way, often focusing on short-term needs rather than long-term planning. As a result, an international management system is needed to make sure resources are used more effectively and in a more sustainable way. For example, in many countries today, around 80% of global energy consumption still comes from non-renewable resources like oil and gas, which are being used faster than they can be replaced. This shows the need for more efficient resources management. And if this continues, resources will become increasingly limited and may not be enough for future generations. However, with international management, resources can be used more efficiently and sustainably, ensuring long-term availability for everyone. Secondly, mention both global and national economic sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, international material agencies are suitable for managing critical resources because they can help mention both global and national economic stability. With controlled management, the price of strategic resources such as oil, gas, and rare earth elements can stay more stable and cannot be easily manipulated by certain countries or rich corporations. Ladies and gentlemen, the countries with abundant natural resources can still gain for economic benefit through international distribution and compensation mechanism, without being exploited by the global market. On the other hand, countries that lack these resources can still receive equal supplies, reducing the risk of shortages, energy crisis, and extreme price increases. The real case in Indonesia, our country, ladies and gentlemen, has a slow experienced situation where natural resources benefit for the parties more than its own people. One example is nickel export. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that for many years, Indonesia exported raw nickel ore at relatively low prices, while other countries gained much larger profits by processing it into high-value industrial products, such as electric vehicle batteries. Then how about our country? Do we gain the same or even large profits? I'm sure no. Ladies and gentlemen, with more regulated international management, international resources agencies can help maintain price stability, prevent compensation our supplies during global crisis, and ensure that producing countries like Indonesia or the other countries receive a fair share of the economic benefits from their natural resources. In conclusion, as the Prime Minister's speech, I strongly support this motion because an international resources agency can ensure more efficient and sustainable use of resources while also maintaining global and national economic stability. It helps create a fairer and more balanced system for all countries. The key point is critical resources can be governed fairly by the central. Thank you. Itu kecepatan, Mas.